So will you remember that when you see this horrible commercial that I'm a socialist? I was called a socialist for the first time in my entire life. Actually, what I am doing is I'm using socialist countries who are buying our product for far less than we're allowed to. I'm saying, well, if you're going to sell it to this country, might be socialist, for a lower price, so we're going to get that same price. So, but I have been called everything in the book. And I said the other day, whenever you see a drug company advertising that Donald Trump's a bad guy, remember your drug prices must be coming down very big. Very big. So please remember that.
In this episode of Just Informed Talk, we are going to take a look at the latest breaking news, and we're going to cover the major story that the fake news refuses to report on, and that is the massive illegal surveillance that was being done by the Obama administration. We're going to look at who else did they spy on. We have some very important information to get through here in this episode, so I hope you guys stick around and check out that and a whole lot more. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know the drill. Thank you. If you've hit that subscribe button, if you guys haven't done it, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, then hit that bell and select all so you get notified as soon as all these videos get posted. Plus, you're invited to stick around at the end of the episode. We do a segment called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, we're going to look at a Psalm 36 specifically, and we're going to talk about human wickedness and God's love. And it's an important message I think we all need to hear. So if you guys want, please stick around for the end, or for that at the end of this episode. Now, getting into the latest, we're still at Q Post 4620. We've talked about this a few times, but it is the full outline of all the complex insurrection plots that are coming together against President Trump and we, the American people, that has been orchestrated by the Communist Party in China in coordination with corrupt politicians inside of our government. And there's just a lot of people who are blackmailed and leveraged, and we're going to get into that at the top of this episode, talking about some major revelations which we've had for a while now, but continue to develop in a way that show that not only are major members of our government compromised, including in the Supreme Court possibly, but also we have across all boards, across all sectors, there are people who are in compromised positions who are now helping facilitate an all-out insurrection that is meant to destroy this country from within, to replace our republic, our constitutional republic, with a command-control authoritarian communist dictatorship. That's what they want. I mean, that's the long and short of it. So before we get into that, though, just a quick reminder, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. If you guys haven't tried it yet, you can download it for free. And when you use the link in the description of this video to download it, they'll make a contribution to this channel. So what will you get in return? You're going to get an internet browser. It's a better internet browser than Chrome, Firefox, Explorer, Safari, whatever you're using. It works on your desktop, your laptop, or your smartphone. It blocks the ads, which is a big feature. It's got a firewall, VPN, built-in Tor browser, and so much more. So I encourage you all to check out the Brave browser today. Use the link in the description to download it, install it, and run it, and then make a contribution to this channel. So it's a win-win. You get a great product for free, and you'll help support this channel. And I use this product, so that's why I'm encouraging you guys to go check it out. Links will be in the description below. Now, getting into the latest story where we're going to start today. This is disturbing. JustTheNews.com, John Solomon's website, now coming out with Pence saying Chief Justice Roberts' disappointment to conservatives, quote unquote. Yeah, we already knew that, but I thought this was a good place to start because it gives us kind of a context for the story that we're going to get into after this, that we've talked about several times here on the channel before, but it's continuing to develop over time. So why is Mike Pence coming out against Chief Justice Roberts finally after several major U.S. Supreme Court decisions that have literally gone 100% against the conservative agenda that he purportedly represents in Congress, even though, they claim to be nonpartisan or whatever. But here it is. It's talking about those votes, saying Vice President Pence says Supreme Court Justice John Roberts is a disappointment to conservatives following his votes on several recent high court rulings that have gone against conservative principles. Quote, "We have great respect for the institution of the Supreme Court," blah, 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 who cares? Anyway, this goes on to talk about the different ways that the Chief Justice has been compromised. And this all took place back in 2012 after the Affordable Care Act vote, where we're going to talk about how it's very possible, right, that this spy operation that they used to go against President Trump was not just aimed at President Trump. It was aimed at several members of Congress, members of the Supreme Court, other federal and other judges, members of the public at large. And this has all been exposed extensively through whistleblowers who have come forward with this incredible story, really, about a corrupt administration who had weaponized a surveillance tool called the Hammer, right, that was being orchestrated by a corrupt CIA director, John Brennan, and used with the coordination of Jim Clapper, James Comey, and the Obama administration, Obama Hussein himself, as it were. But it goes back, right? It says, this all started when Roberts made this vote in the Affordable Care Act, right? And now he's made all these terrible decisions that are really going to end up costing the American people in the long run, in my opinion. Now, we're not going to go through each and every one of them, but what we will do is we'll go over here and we'll read about Brennan's Fusion Center fable being a cover-up. Now, this is reporting from Mary Fanning and Alan Jones, and these are some intrepid investigative journalists who have been doing great work at exposing the corruption and the malfeasance. Now, they've been working with high-ranking officers and former and retired officers from the U.S. military who have come out and exposed in no uncertain terms their alleged fact that the Hammer, which is a very sophisticated surveillance tool that can be used to hack into pretty much anything that has a password, I would presume that's digital, was being used by the Obama administration to spy on their political rivals. So they have a full timeline here in this story, and it starts with the concocted Trump-Russia intelligence fusion center narrative, right, which is what they tried to use as a cover story because Brennan and Clapper, allegedly, according to this article, were illegally commandeered or had commandeered the Hammer for illegal domestic surveillance and for wiretapping Trump in violation of the CIA's charter. So imagine this, the CIA, which is obviously an organization meant to conduct surveillance on foreign targets, not meant to be used domestically at all, unless there's there's little overlaps where it comes to, foreign nationals conducting business in the United States, and then it goes to the FBI, and then that's what they call the Fusion Center, was this whole idea that they were sharing information with one another, when in reality it wasn't a fusion center. It was more like a spy operation that was being ran by the acting administration at that time, right? Unaccountable, against all regulations and policies. But Dennis Montgomery is the whistleblower who came forward with a huge amount of evidence and turned it over to the FBI, which now it's mysteriously disappeared, some of that evidence, and other evidence was taken by District Judge G. Murray Snow in an interview that was conducted with him and Joe Arpaio, the sheriff out there in Arizona. So this has all been basically put together in a very succinct and easy to follow way. If you guys want to read through the timeline here, this is a very important, it's a long story, there's a lot of information. We've covered this several times before, but it talks about Carter Page, the FISA warrant application for him, and how that was basically the point at which they realized they were going to get caught. So they started this coup and then the Russia hoax, and then they tried to put the Mueller blockade in front of it, which was Mueller's investigation was meant to be a blockade from Congress when we had the majorities, and then when we were still in the majority in the Senate to now, going in and investigating their criminal actions. But remember, this story doesn't start and stop with, what happened to President Trump. It actually goes even further to across all sectors, like I said before. And if you think about it, what's being alleged here in this work that's been painstakingly put together by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones over the last couple years, it tells a story that is almost unbelievable, right? That they were spying on the president, spying on his top advisors. then taking information that they knew was inaccurate, presenting it to a FISA court to obtain warrants to spy further. Then they used that information, which they obtained illegally, to launch an investigation through Congress, where they ultimately ended up having nothing happen. They didn't find anything because there was no there. Mueller's investigation failed because there was no evidence. The impeachment failed because there was no proof of any wrongdoing. And again, we have this whole operation with the hammer coming out and being verified through WikiLeaks and other ways that they've talked about it. But here's what it comes down to, right? We go through the story, the timeline, etc. It goes through the March 2017 when all this was coming out, when all this was coming to a head, when you had Admiral Ace Lyons and the U.S. Air Force retired, or Lieutenant General Thomas McInerney, bringing this all out on, it was actually Dave Janda's radio show where they first broke the story. And if you guys aren't watching him, you should. But look, they know what's in this story is 100% going to take them down for the criminals that they are once it's fully verified, which hopefully it will be at some point in the future. But you even see here in the Lisa Page, Peter Strzok text messages, they know about Dennis Montgomery and his attorney, Larry Klayman, and they literally are texting back and forth about it, right? They're saying it's BS. Why? Because they're shocked. They're absolutely, they're dumbfounded that their whole spy operation, their whole insurance policy, their whole secret society where they've been running this shadow government from shadow presidency through is falling apart, right? So we're in the midst now of a communist coup, and this is insane, but it's true in my opinion, as you can see what's happening in the streets, where you have violent thugs, but organized violent thugs who are working with the strategic coordination of an insurrection or a coup, if you would like to use that term as well, trying to overthrow factions inside of our government, local governments, state governments. They're trying to overthrow law and order, right? Because, like I said before, if you think about it in the most plain terms, why are they trying to overthrow this republic, constitutional republic? Why are they trying to defund the police? Because the police are the ones who enforce the laws. They're the ones who broke the laws. So they don't have any choice other than to attack the police, because the police are the ones who will be putting them in handcuffs and throwing them in federal prison for the next 50 years for what they did to this country, right? But you can read through this story for yourself. It's pretty incredible. I'll read this last part because it kind of ties a lot of it together, saying, Brennan's fake fusion center was his illegal and unconstitutional private domestic surveillance system, the Hammer. Both Admiral Lyons and General McInerney were convinced that the deep state launched the hoax Russian collusion investigation in order to cover up the existence of the Hammer and Brennan and Clapper's illegal surveillance of Donald Trump and others. Possibly Melania Trump. Was she being spied on? Was Ted Cruz being spied on? I wonder. That would be interesting if that came out. I'm sure a lot of people just, evacuated themselves when they heard that. But yeah, if you're on the wrong side of this, I would not be sitting too easy right now, understanding what's going to come out in the next few weeks ahead of the election. But it says Brennan launched his fusion center, Fable, to cover up his outrageous, unconstitutional Soviet-style surveillance state that he and Clapper put in place with Obama. The conspirators, the cabal of traitors for America's premier law enforcement intelligence agencies, ran a fraudulent operation on America in an effort to destroy the nation they swore to serve and protect. If there are no consequences for the outrageous coup d'etat and the seditious actions taken by the cabal of traitors who were spawn of the Obama administration, then the rule of law is dead, and the U.S. Constitution has successfully been destroyed. It's 100% true. And you can, and there are links to all these videos in the article. I'll link it if you want to watch Sidney Powell, General Flynn's attorney, talk about how this is all part of their cover-up, right? Is attacking innocent Americans who are trying to do the right thing, who are trying to bring back a single-tier justice system. But it goes on. It says, the Flynn case should be dismissed, but that it is only the beginning of the journey to right our ship of state. Investigations, prosecutions, and consequences must follow, or we have descended into another communist bloc police state. In 2009, U.S. District Judge Emmett G. Sullivan was extremely troubled when he spoke to the legal community about the need to safeguard the integrity of our criminal justice system and talked about the government's obligation to pursue convictions fairly and in accordance with the Constitution. When the government does not meet its obligation to turn over evidence, the system falters. Judge Sullivan spoke these words as he excoriated the corrupt prosecutors of Senator Ted Stevens. Though the egregious actions of Stevens' prosecution team was exposed, no consequences came to those DOJ prosecutors who so abused the rule of law. Since that time, the DOJ's actions have become more malignant. The cabal of corrupt government officials involved in the coup d'etat, which I believe Judge Sullivan is one of them, and it's ironic to hear their old statements, in the coup d'etat were fully aware of the ramifications of their actions. Many of the traitors were, in fact, attorneys. Those traitors acted against America, knowing full well the consequences for treason and sedition. Let the rule of law mete out the appropriate punishment, and may the punishment place the next cabal of traitors on notice. So, yeah. You can read through the story if you want to leave a link to it, but now it talks about John Roberts. Now, how was he allegedly compromised? Well, apparently it has to do with his children. You know, obviously, if you want to go after a man, go after his kids, right? That's how these sick people work. And it seems as though there were some, let's just say, obvious problems with the way he adopted his two children, which I guess he adopted two children from Latin America back in around, sometime before 2012 when he made that ACA Affordable Care Act decision on the Supreme Court. But apparently Brennan and Clapper found something out that scared him to the point, allegedly, of course, where he was fully on board with this group of treasonous traitors to sell out America, to sell out the people who put him into the position of power that he's in. But are you surprised? Do you really think the Bushes were fighting for us? Do you really think Clinton was fighting for the American people? Do you really think that Obama was fighting for us? No. Those people were selling us out to the highest bidders, and in their secret clubs, their Skull and Bones, all their secret societies that they're in, and they're all, doing weird satanic evil crap in. And they turn around and say, hey, we're going to run this country now, and we're just going to enrich ourselves and all of our friends, all of our secret society buddies. And now, finally, you have a president who stood up to these people, yet the whole swamp, the whole system over the last few decades, if not longer, has been set up in such a way to almost circumvent that center of power that should be the executive branch, and go and funnel that power around into this, unaccountable, tyrannical judiciary and these feckless, spineless cowards in Congress who don't do anything, right? And then you have President Trump stuck in the middle of all that with his White House, his administration being infiltrated, by everyone every day. So many sleepers and, spies and the illegal surveillance operations and et cetera. It goes on and on. So we're in the middle of what you would call, I would say, a major battle against a ongoing coup/insurrection, which is aimed at overthrowing our duly elected government, interfering in our 2020 election. And, I think the end goal for these people is to destroy this country, right? But you can read through this. It's quotes down here out of a Drudge Report article that was featured back in 2005 saying, the New York Times is looking into the adoption records of the children of Supreme Court nominee John G. Roberts, the Drudge Report has learned. The Times' investigative reporter Glenn Justice hot on the case to investigate the status of adoption records of Judge Roberts' two young children, Josie and Jack, a top source reveals. Judge Roberts and his wife Jane adopted the children when they were each infants. Both were adopted from Latin America. Times Insider claims the look into the adoption papers are part of the paper's standard background check. Bill Borders, a New York Times senior editor, explains, our reporters made initial inquiries about the adoptions as they did about many other aspects of his background. They did so with great care. Yeah, right. Anyway, so you can read through this for yourself, too. This is a Patrick Halley report over here on National File if you want to read through it. But look, here you go, right? You put it all together and you just see a corrupt system that doesn't represent us, doesn't represent we the people. It actually represents a very tiny corrupt class of elitists who believe that they're above you, above the law, and better than you, and they're going to be the arbiters of truth and morality in society, and they're going to decide your freedom, not based on the Constitution, not based on the governing documents, the founding documents of this republic, rather on a system of corruption, leverage, and blackmail, where whoever gets the most blackmail on the other person becomes the arbiter of truth and morality in society, right? It's disgusting. I mean, I don't know what to say. I get so frustrated because I see this stuff every single day. It never ends. In a rare rebuke, top GOP senators accuse Schiff, Pelosi, Warner, and Schumer of knowingly spreading disinformation on foreign intel. Really? This is a story that's coming out now? August of 2020? The GOP senators rebuke Schiff, Pelosi, Warner, and Schumer? These people are leading a criminal insurrection. These people are ignoring the violent paramilitary thugs who are acting on their behalf, burning down cities to try to disrupt elections, to try to intimidate voters, to act as a form of communist fascist street thugs. And all they have is a rebuke. See, this is why I lose patience with these GOP senators, and it becomes so redundant, right? You get angry and they don't do anything. And they go, oh, well, we're waiting on Durham. I mean, I know that the Congress is a body that really has only the power to recommend, but they also have certain other powers in the Senate that the House doesn't have that they haven't used, right? To start going after these criminals, these corrupt politicians. How does Nancy Pelosi get in office, with a net worth of what, a few $100,000, and now she has, over 100 million or whatever it is? Look at the background of Adam Schiff and his family. Look at the Standard Hotel and what happened in LA. Look at all the crimes that have happened that they just cover up. These people represent us. It's almost like the sickest, most evil people in society have risen because they're just so sick and evil and so ruthless that they're willing to do anything. Yeah, I mean, you can read through this story for yourself. It gets frustrating after a while. And then also here, George Papadopoulos talking about this tweet, and there's a thread here. I'll share a link to it, but it's interesting where it basically sums up that he said back in January of 2019 that he can't wait for the target of the Dragon FISA from October 2016 to be revealed. Get ready. So I don't know if the Dragon FISA was for Ted Cruz or perhaps it was for Melania Trump. Perhaps they said that Melania Trump, because she's European, and made something up about somebody she talked to one time and said, we need to start spying on her too. Could you imagine? What does that mean for our society? It means that the Constitution's meaningless unless somebody does something. Unless people are perp walked, thrown in federal prison for years, none of it means anything. That's my point, right? And what are we up against? This is the police chief from Seattle, right? Where they're having this crazy insurrection right now, this communist, fascist movement. Saying after they surround her house and target neighbors and kids in her neighborhood, she says, I feel incredibly unsafe. The chief of police feels incredibly unsafe in an American city. Are you kidding me? The idea that nobody's doing anything, again, is because we're not doing anything. And that's what I read yesterday, General Flynn's letter, and that's what it's all about. That's why we have to organize. That's why we have to meet them in the streets. That's why we have to go out and show force against these people. Because if we don't, they're going to take it all. They're going to take it all from us. So that's the point of that. Here I have this interesting thread. So speaking of like us fighting back, us, obviously not allowing ourselves to be intimidated and have our civil liberties stripped away by these unaccountable violent racist mobs that run through the streets. There's an organization to it all, and this thread goes through that organization, and it shows in great detail how they do these targeted methodical acts of violence and coercion. Remember, it's like Rules for Radicals or any of those other communists, the Antifa handbook. It is a blueprint for how you destroy society from within. And these people need to be thrown in federal prison, the ones that are doing this. But as they are being picked up by federal officers, that's not enough. We have to study their strategies and start using this against them if they're going to do this in our streets, right? And I'll leave this link if you want to do it, but it talks about, these principles that they run their organizations on, putting your target in a decision dilemma. where they have a lose-lose decision to make. Either, walk away from this violence and get, cast as a white supremacist, racist, evil person, or have them capitulate and take a knee and bow down and, grovel for the mob not to hurt them. Or the real action is your target's reaction, right? Inciting, just hitting enough police to get them to respond in force, and then, you videotape that and share that, right? Play to the audience isn't there, talking about how, or play to the audience that isn't there, meaning you're playing for a national audience. These people understand that it's the optics. It's not about the people in there. That's why you don't, like, when people go out there and they say, like, please stop burning my city down. I want to talk. I want to debate. I don't think you're evil, but let's talk. I don't think you're right about everything. They ignore those people because all that matters are the optics of the destruction and mayhem that they're causing. It makes them look strong. It makes us look weak. And they play that. And that's why the media takes it and runs with it, because the media is so criminally corrupt and complicit in covering up all these crimes with big tech, these fascist communists from China or wherever the heck they're from, that they know what audience they're playing to. And it says, do the media's work for them. Obviously, it's easy. You have to set up a stage shots that look a certain way and have a certain effect. And it goes on. It talks about the wall of moms and how it's about trying to create this sympathetic coverage for them, right? Where it says lead with sympathetic characters. So there's a highly organized, highly dangerous set of principles that they follow for their agenda. So, hey, here they are. If you want to read them, go read them. And maybe they'll give us maybe we'll take some ideas from these people, because if they're going to do this, what are we doing? We're just going to sit back and let them do it? Chuck Schumer now has changed his mind about reopening schools because he realized that the majority of his voters want schools open. But that's the useless Democrat game plan, right, from day one, is, do what you want until it becomes glaringly obvious that the vast majority of people despise you. That just seems to be their MO, right? Here's another interesting story I thought I'd talk about quickly. The mask mouth. So they say there's nothing wrong. Why don't you want to wear your face mask? Oh, except now dentists are saying that there's actually an effect to rebreathing your own fumes or whatever, your pernicious vapors, as it were. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Susan Rice looks like she probably will be the running mate of Joe Biden, which makes sense because that just means it's an Obama 2.0 administration. These people are criminals. They are criminals. They need to be in jail. And Q told us this was coming, right? That they were going to run for public office so that whenever we start unraveling the litany of crimes that they've committed, they can go, oh, you're just targeting your political opponents. No, you broke the law. You committed crimes on a scale that is almost unimaginable because it came from the office of the President of the United States. It came from the DOJ. It came from the FBI. It came from the CIA. We're talking about a organized infiltration of our government and exploitation of our government's law enforcement agencies and the executive branch and our intelligence agencies on a scale which has never been seen before, other than it's been happening repeatedly for decades since the criminal cartel of mafiosos who are all in the same clubs, Bush, Clinton, Bush 2, Obama, they were setting this all up, right? So just a reminder that the cartels who are fighting against President Trump and we, the American people, they're all these former elected officials who are the most vile criminal actors you ever saw in your life. So, of course, and the teachers' unions are using kids as political pawns. And finally here, Facebook had a crazy day. So Facebook kicks a bunch of people off their platform, QAnon, a major QAnon group, over 200,000 followers, gets kicked off, right? Then Twitter, in turn, starts just nuking all these QAnon accounts. I think I lost 3,000 followers on Twitter in like an hour today, right? And it seems the number's fluctuating, going up and down. But Then you have this sensitive claim of bias now where you have this is a joke. The fake news, the liars in the fake news, right? The people who have reported lie after lie after lie after lie to deceive the American people and help this insurrection and help a coup against a sitting president have the audacity, have the nerve, have the gall to write articles accusing Facebook of being biased for conservatives. So they're like, you're not purging social media enough. Well, guess what? These people are sick criminals, and we're going to win. And it's, you know what? They think that they have the upper hand right now, but I guess that would be when your enemy is at its most vulnerable, when it thinks it's at an advantage. So just remember that, all you fake news liars out there who think silencing one or two of us, or even if you pull us all off, it's not going to have some very, let's just say, very unintentional consequences, right? That you will not see coming. And we've been working on for years now. So have fun when we get really organized, because it's going to be really bad for you fake news liars. And finally, one more thing. You guys you want to ask, everybody keeps asking me about Dylan Wheeler, the Education for Liberals guy. You know, I know him very in passing. You know, we've been at a few events together. He's kind of a pro-Q guy, seems a little, you know, here or there. He's got some interesting views, but now he's coming out and saying that President Trump is evil and satanic and that it's all, Q is all a psyop. Well, you know what? I don't put much stock in other people's, you know, perceptions. I know that I've been looking at this for years. I know what it is. I understand the dynamics here. And, you know, if people can't handle that and people want to go off the deep end and start, you know, doing what they do, then that's fine. But I'm not going to play into other people's, you know, neuroses or psychoses or, you know, fairy tales that they want to weave and live with. That's not for me. That's why I ignore all these other fake Q people and all this other crap. Excuse my language, but it's not. It's just. It's all meant to provide a contrast, right? So you have to have people who are dissenting, or else it's, you know, then we are the monolith. We are the cult that they call us if we can't have people who say, you know, what others people want to say. So we let them say it. We ignore it and we present facts that counter what they say, and we do it more effectively. And that's how we overcome the deception and the lies and the, you know, the frequency of the resonating frequency that seems to drone on indefinitely with this constant chatter of doubt. And I'm not into that. I try to stay positive. Sometimes, yes, you guys have seen me. I'm not the most positive guy, but I'm also a believer in God, in Jesus Christ. And I put my faith in God no matter what. I said, no matter what they do to me or us, we have God. God is with us. So that's where I leave it. Because remember, everything that's of this world is temporary, but everything that is not of this world is eternal. So put your eyes to Christ first above all else, including Q and Trump and everything that exists here. We put our faith in Christ above. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. A few more things before we go. You guys can find me over here on Twitter while I still am here. You guys can see my follower counts fluctuating rapidly. I had about over 70,000 followers this morning. Now it's down to 68,000. Other people on the site are saying the same thing. Also over here on at informed_news is another example. I had over 8,000 followers. Now it's down to 799. That's for Just Informed Clips, which if you guys haven't checked it out, it's the new channel I have. You guys should go subscribe, watch these videos, share them. They're meant for you guys to share and get out there. It is just clips that I've collected over the years. It's like my entire library that I'm trying to put up over time for you guys to share as we run up to the election over the next 6 months. I'm going to try to get my entire video library of all of the clips I have up for you guys to share. So I hope you guys go check that out. Also, you can find me over on Parler at JustinformedTalk. BitChute.com/JustinformedTalk is the backup channel. And of course, JustinformedNews.com is the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to all the stuff that you need here, Q stuff, news, breaking news, and of course the latest videos from the channel. And if you want, you can contribute to this channel, keep it going. You know, they've tried to put it out of business. They've done everything they can to shut this channel down. But your support, your prayers, and your support here have made it possible by the grace of God for me to continue. So consider supporting the channel if you can. There's a Patreon. It's a monthly donation through a crowdfunding website. They also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to everything will be in the description below the video. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. Today, I want to read Psalm 36 to you because it talks about human wickedness and God's love. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate verse to share today in lieu of what we went over in this video. It says here, again, this is Psalm 36, the whole psalm. It says, "An oracle within my heart concerning the transgression of the wicked. There is no dread of God before his eyes. For in his own eyes he flatters himself too much to discover and hate his sin. The words of his mouth are malicious and deceptive. He has stopped acting wisely and doing good. Even on his bed he makes malicious plans. He sets himself on a path that is not good and does not reject evil. Lord, your faithful love reaches to heaven, your faithfulness to the skies. Your righteousness is like the highest mountain, your judgments like the deepest sea. Lord, you preserve man and beast. God, your faithful love is so valuable that people take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They are filled from the abundance of your house. You let them drink from your refreshing stream, for with you is life's fountain. In your light we will see light. Spread the faithful love over those who know you, and your righteousness over the upright in heart. Do not let the foot of the arrogant come near me, or the hand of the wicked drive me away. There the evildoers fall. They have been thrown down and cannot rise." And that's my prayer for all of us, that God will guide our hearts, and he will guide our words, and he will guide our actions, and make sure that if we put our faith in him, the foot of the arrogant will not come near us, and the hand of the wicked will not be able to drive us away, no matter what they do. Because the evil that we are up against are from men and women who've flattered themselves to the point where they can't even know their own sin. They're malicious and deceptive in the words they speak. They don't act wise. They don't do good. They make plans, malicious plans against everyone, even as they sleep or as they lay down. It says, they set themselves on a path that is not good and do not reject evil. So remember, how do we embrace God's love? We do the opposite of all those things, right? We embrace God's incredible love and the gift that Jesus Christ and the sacrifice on the cross gave us for our eternal salvation with the Holy Spirit. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode. Remember, watch these videos, share them on your own social media, and get the word out that way. Plus, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. So with that, though, I'm going to sign off a few more things before I go. Remember to come here, hit that subscribe button, and hit that like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.